From deep behind Texas, occupied by offshore criminal banks, I'm Alex Jones, your host. And if we don't wake up to the full magnitude of the occupation, and that I was talking about last segment, because a caller brought it up, DynCorp Halliburton in the Chicago Tribune, in other big papers, caught running child sex rings, kidnapping women, men for slave operations. And they're offshore, you know, they're over in Dubai, so they can get away with it. And DynCorp and other big contractors, but DynCorp is the biggest group, run the actual CPS enforcers in most states. The person that's the CPS agent with the satanic eyes that comes to your house to take your kids because there's dirty dishes or because the neighbor saw you yelling at your kids or whatever. The people that are 5 times more likely in the Justice Department's own numbers to kill or hurt your child. The most dangerous place in the world is in those pedophiles' clutches. Now, they're not pedophiles, they're just mentally ill people that were abused themselves and think everybody else is an abuser and hate parents and believe that the state is their parents because they were institutionalized. They're either kids that have been institutionalized and the state's their mommy and their daddy, like something out of Russia or Nazi Germany. This is what CPS is. Or they're mindless socialists who hate the family. That's taught in their textbooks. I've read them here on air about they want to annihilate the family. Or they're hardcore, pure mercenaries, or they're pedophiles. And the largest group of those 4 groups is pedophile. Oh, by the way, that's in the criminology reports. I mean, do you know how many truancy officers are pedophiles? You know how many Boy Scout leaders are pedophiles? You know how many, why do you think so many Catholic priests are pedophiles? Because, yeah, there's a lot of folks that do like children, want to help them, want to see them grow. But then there's also the predators that come in. And so governments have always gone in and killed the parents and taken the children. The Romans did that so they could re-educate them. And so the caller, you know, was bringing up how it's all over the news now that the UN and others are involved in all this. It was always in the news. I don't get up on the air and say DynCorp and Halliburton got caught running child kidnapping rings. I would be sued immediately. I would be off the air if it wasn't true. I have literally scores of mainstream news articles, congressional hearings. I've seen Congress people ask Rumsfeld when he was in there, why are you allowing them to still have contracts? Because even though they're involved in this. And he said they're allowed to. They paid a fine. If you were out grabbing women and children off the street, you'd go to prison or get the electric chair, and you should. They do it, and it's like, well, you know, it's the government. Folks, it's so far beyond the media's liberal or they're environmental wackos. They don't know what they're doing. Oh, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And they've got, at the highest levels, people that are fully conscious of it. Most of them are just little self-centered, trendy people that want to be pundits or anchors that will say whatever they're told, and they hear the big national pundits put out the propaganda, and then they parrot it, and then they get patted on the head by the program director, because the program director is a parrot and thinks, well, this is what the big guys talk about. This is establishment. And that's how they've maneuvered us into this just twilight zone of evil. Well, not me. Not me. I am not going along with this. I was back in the back, and maybe the guys weren't listening, but they're like, why are you saying that the census is coming to people's houses? The census is over. No, it's not over. Exactly. You're living in the old America, where they only came every 10 years. They've announced 10 years ago that it would be every year and for some every month. And it's all over the news, monthly census visits, outside of law, and they will threaten to call the cops on you if you don't answer all their questions and let them in your house. Okay, these are the little Soviet national security force, just as big and just as strong as our military. Now, let's go quickly to calls here, because I got to get to this Jon Stewart clip. Let's talk to, who's been holding the longest? Matt in Alabama, thanks for holding.
Hey, Alex, thanks for having me on.
Thank you, sir. What's on your mind?
I sent you an email. Not everyone believes in this, and not all of us should do it. But we got to recognize it's going to be hard for Paul to win early primary votes in the South. And this is a Southern strategy, but it could work in urban areas across the U.S. We got to recognize that black voters, African Americans, are a huge untapped resource.
Well, they already favor Paul 5-1 over other Republicans, so I I don't think that'll be a problem. They rewrote his district into a big black area years ago trying to beat him, and he only got more votes.
In South Carolina, they're over 40% of the electorate. Now, no other Republicans can reach these voters. These are primary voters. We would not be asking them to vote against Obama, but we could use them in the primary elections. Now, Paul is on record offering to give pardons to nonviolent drug users that are in federal prison. You know, everybody knows somebody that's been affected by this, especially in our black communities. They've got family and friends. It's a civil rights issue. It's a social justice issue. And for white people that still have the monkey of racism on back, this is what they need to do. They can either find the video on YouTube, search for Ron Paul pardon, put it on their iPhones, bring a friend, and start going into these minority neighborhoods and showing black voters that video.
Absolutely. Folks, if you pull into a group of, for whatever reason, on average, white people, and start trying to talk to them about politics, they're going to turn away because they're scared to talk to anybody. But if you go into black and Hispanic areas, white especially, they think it's so crazy, they will literally embrace you just to have somebody actually talk to them like they're human beings. And we need to get together for liberty. Absolutely. That's what it's all about, and it's a great idea, Matt. I appreciate your call.